Hi, it's Jeff Deaver. I have been working on my latest Lincoln Rhyme book, which will be out next year, and I decided to take some time off and make a bit of dinner for myself. Today I'm going to make a Guinness beef stew. It's very easy to put together, and we'll start with the meat. Brisket is a good choice. Chuck, sharpening the knife up there. A little advice after you sharpen your knife, make sure you wipe the blade down with a cloth because there are metal shavings on the blade. Anyway, I was saying this is a London broil, which I got on sale. Don't use an expensive cut of steak for this, like a ribeye or a New York strip. It'll tenderize very well because we're going to be cooking the meat for a long time, 2 to 3 hours. So we cut it up in cubes, maybe 1.5 inches, 2 inches or so. They do shrink down when they're cooked. And the first step is to saute some bacon, just basic off-the-shelf bacon. Cook it up till it's nice and crispy. Now, once that's done, we remove the bacon from the pan, but leave the bacon fat in. Pour in some olive oil, get it nice and hot, and brown the meat on all sides. Don't use all of the meat at once. It tends to release the juice and just get soggy. We don't want that to happen. We want it nice and brown, seal in all the juices inside. And I use like large handfuls from maybe 1.5 to 2 handfuls at a time. I think that's my little girl Blush. Yep, she's coming up to see what's going on here. She's a French dog, a Briard, and this is a dish very similar to beef bourguignon. So she may think that's the action that's going on there. Now I have to share something with you. We're going to pan over here and look at that. Yes, it's a real Los Polos Hermanos fry batter bucket from the TV show Breaking Bad. True, I had a glass of wine or two after I finished the last episode, loved the show, went to eBay and bought myself a souvenir. Now here we have our ingredients. You can see the carrots, garlic, onion, a little bit of sugar, the meat, stock, and the secret ingredient, the Guinness. So now what we're going to do is start assembling. We saute the garlic and onions together. Be kind of careful. We don't want the garlic to burn, which it does quite easily. And then are we going to add the secret ingredient now? Let me see. I have a feeling it's coming up. Oh no, sorry, I forgot. The meat goes in first. That's right. By the way, if you haven't guessed, this is not live action. I'm narrating after I finish the whole procedure. And we stir that up a bit. Excellent. It's getting a little boring now. We needed some set piece action, and here it comes. Yes, now it's time for the Guinness. And I will share with you that that is a bottle of Guinness minus a sip or two, only because I'm making this solely for myself. When my guests come over, if I'm going to indulge, it will be from a second bottle, just in the interests of health and safety. We stir that up a little bit, and now we're going to add the rest of the liquid. That's the beef stock. You can use chicken as well. I just happen to have made some beef stock with some bones and scraps I had left over, enough to cover the meat. There we go. And the lid goes on, and it's intermission time, very briefly. As you can see, rather than keep the camera going for 2 hours, we just cut ahead. And now what we're going to do is add the carrots. The meat at this point is just about done, but carrots don't take very long to cook. If you put them in at the beginning, they'll turn quite mushy. We don't want that to happen. So with about 15 minutes left to go, there we have the casserole. Now I've made this recipe many times, And I don't use measuring cups or tablespoons or teaspoons. I pretty much got it down. But today I did add maybe a little more stock than I should have. And now the meat and carrots are about done, but we need to thicken the stock. So I'm using something called beurre manier, which is equal parts soft butter and flour, just white flour. And you mix it together. It both enriches the stock and thickens it very nicely. It's a little tricky though because flour will lump up if you put it in a liquid that's too hot. So what you do is you mix up your paste there, and then with a ladle slowly add a scoop of the stock from the pot. Now that's very warm, so we don't want to add it too quickly, or the flour will turn into lumps. We don't want that to happen. Nice smooth paste. You can use a whisk too, but I'm just using a spoon there because that was the closest thing I could grab. Add a little bit more. Don't add it all at once. Slowly, and a little bit more. Well, you get the idea. You don't want to keep this going too long. In fact, I should have cut that out a bit because you can probably getting a little dizzy now watching that spoon go around. I certainly am as I'm narrating this fascinating tale. Okay, fade out and fade back into the almost finished stew. Now we're going to add the beurre manier into the casserole. And just like I did earlier, I add it very slowly because the flour could lump if you add it too quickly to the hot stock. And in we go. You see it's thickening up very nicely there. It thickens up very quickly. It adds an enrichment to it as well with the butter. I've used cornstarch too in an emergency. That's always good. Mix cornstarch with a cold liquid, never warm. You can do it with stock, water, or wine. That thickens up a sauce very quickly. I prefer this though. This has more flavor to it. It's richer. Cornstarch to me doesn't have much of a flavor. So we stir it around and nice and thick. And we don't, once we get the beurre manier in, we don't really need to do much else. It's about ready to go. You cook that for a few minutes, not on too high heat. Don't need that. And all right, there we go. For the presentation, I have served this over rice with mashed potatoes, but I just thought to be different. I was in a baked potato mood, so I baked a potato, put some butter on it, and then quartered it. And now we're going to just add the Guinness beef stew right over the top. And you can serve this with which I'll probably have tonight, a salad, romaine probably, a little blue cheese crumbled on top. A very good dish for a dark and stormy night. Bon appetit.